Welcome to A Recipe Reborn, featuring your favorite foods from Final Fantasy XIV. Hello, my name is Lemon Drop, and I develop recipes by combining real-life culinary inspiration with the in-game recipe, description, thumbnail, geography, and lore. If you're into 14 and food, please subscribe and click the bell for a new episode every Tuesday. Today I am making Princess Pudding. This is week 2 of my 4-week deep dive into Starlight Celebration desserts. The in-game thumbnail resembles the real-life Christmas pudding, which is a traditional Christmas dessert in England and its former territories that has a long history associated with both religion and monarchy. Similar to last week, this one was featured in both 2013 and 2014 Starlight celebrations. And of course, since this is a seasonal item, there is no in-game recipe. But what I want to pay attention to is the description. This cake-like dessert is popular in Limsa Lominsa and is shaped to resemble the legendary notorious monster after which it is named. The princess pudding was a terrible beast rumored to once have roamed the meadows of Lenosha. Of course, I went looking for it, but it was nowhere to be found. I came across a post in the official forums from 2011 looking for strategies on how to complete a leve called Wanted Princess Pudding. Another helpful adventurer posted a link to a YouTube video where I found this: the notorious princess pudding. What I learned is that completing this leve and killing the princess pudding was step 18 out of 21 in the Black Mage Relic quest from 1.0. Since I didn't play 1.0, I am delighted to learn this lovely piece of lore that ties the Starlight Celebration all the way back to patch 1.22b. So to bring this pudding to life, I have selected these ingredients local to Lenosha to create this recipe, along with a couple others that I will explain along the way. Starting with the fruit, I'm soaking them to rehydrate so they have a tender and juicy texture in the pudding. I'm using both the juice and the zest from an orange and, of course, wine. Since both wine port and ale port are in Lenosha, I think it's appropriate to use wine or ale in this recipe. I'm covering it up and letting it sit in a cool place overnight. The next morning, I'm preparing the batter that holds the fruit together. It's pretty simple and can be done by hand with a hand mixer or a standing mixer. Once the sugar and butter are completely creamed together, I'm adding the egg a little bit at a time until it's fully incorporated. I'm stirring in the fruit, and you can see that it soaked up most of the liquid, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Next are the dry ingredients, which are mostly just to make sure everything holds together. The almonds are going to add a nice crunch in what would otherwise be a soft, moist cake. I'm folding these together gently so my pudding doesn't turn out hard or tough. This is a stainless steel bowl which I've buttered and lined with a piece of parchment paper. Normally, a Christmas pudding is made in a pudding basin, but I don't have one, so this should do just fine. I'm leveling the surface as best I can, but in the end this is the bottom, so no one will see it. Now I need to cover this up using 3 layers. The parchment paper acts as a barrier between the pudding and the cheesecloth. The cheesecloth absorbs any water that would otherwise drip and collect on the parchment. And of course, the foil holds in the steam. I'm tying it up and then gently lowering it into my steamer basket, which is just barely big enough to fit and saved me from having to buy a new steamer, which I can only describe as a Starlight miracle. So earlier when I said the next morning, I definitely meant morning because this needs to steam for 4 hours. Thankfully, it doesn't need much supervision, and I topped it up with boiling water only once in that time. Give it the old flipperoo to unmold it, which should be pretty easy if it's still warm. It's a Christmas tradition to pour flaming brandy over the pudding, and since brandy is made of wine, I thought, why not? The trick to doing this, by the way, is making sure the brandy is warm. I tried to light room temperature brandy twice, and it did not work. Also make sure to use proper safety precautions. I moved everything offset and have a pitcher of water just out of frame. Thankfully, I didn't set my apartment on fire, and I was able to apply my homemade dollar store bow and a sprig of holly which I snipped off a bush in someone's yard down the road. Please don't rat me out, I did it for you! I'm usually pretty honest when I don't like something, but I thought this turned out pretty good. I went for seconds immediately after eating this slice, and I don't normally do that with desserts. The texture is similar to eating a brownie with nuts, so you get a nice crunch, and the flavors are sweet, sour, and tangy instead of chocolatey. Before I finish up, I'd like to mention the upcoming fundraiser, Games Finished Adequately, benefiting the Sick Kids Foundation on Saturday, December 14th, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My friend Matt will be running the Copied Factory on the Primal Data Center at 4 p.m., so you can show your support by joining, watching, or donating. Anyway, that's it for now. As usual, you'll find the links to the recipe in the description below and in the card at the top of the screen. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week for another Starlight Celebration recipe and another episode.